sure you don't want to go after that?
I'm wondering why I wasn't before lunch.
Good. Wow. Mary Jo, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. And thanks for waking everybody up after lunch. Just a few thoughts before I begin. I just want to say on behalf, and I'm sure everybody else, I'm just going to echo the sentiments of Jen and Robin for organizing this network opportunity. I'm just going to tell you the slate of presenters and the progression of expectations and experiences that people have had. I know how worthwhile this for me. Hopefully it is for everybody else. Big round of applause. And for those of you, Janet and I, we started way back and with Bill in Janesville and many others. You see a lot of familiar faces. We didn't have any time at all, literally before this presentation, so I'm not even sure what slides are up there. But we didn't have time to connect, but it is so funny. As I listened to the presentations this morning, it is amazing, truly uncanny, how much consistency there is across the school districts across the nation. And so again, I'm just going to say ditto up front, because you are going to hear some things that you've already heard this morning. And again, for those of you that are just on that verge, wondering, is this something, whether you hate it or not, it might seem a little scary, but folks, all means all. You're absolutely right. All means all, and it works. So again, glad to be here today. Oops, wrong way. It's great to hear such positive results, not just Mary Jo, but across the board, especially when at a time when leadership is under intense scrutiny. It has never been more difficult to try to be a leader, and I think most of you, all of you in your positions know that. And I can, firmly say that, when we are pressured to produce all the time, sometimes our priorities get a little bit mixed up. And so I started with this slide on purpose, and I just really wanted to start there because you know what? Before we begin, I think there's three things that we need to be really, really clear about. First, we need to know what our priorities are. Two, we need to be clear with everyone with whom we work. We need to be clear about what it is we expect. And last but not least, and probably the most important, I think we need to make sure that we, with all our being, believe in what we're doing, but also what we're expecting of others to do as well. As the first bullet says up here, I'm not a professional presenter. I'm a site-based administrator. I've been working in the building for 20 years now. And then again, that's where I do all my work with teachers and kids. I am so happy to see so many people at the superintendent, the board level, because I can tell you right now, it definitely comes from the top, but it's great to be here. I'm also a dad, and so that gives me that unique perspective when you're sitting there dealing with kids every day. But last but not least, I'm a latecomer. I'm a latecomer to education. I left the corporate world because, you know what, I was looking for meaning, and I was looking for purpose. And maybe some of you are sitting in that same situation where you came a little bit late. But you know what? I came to education and I realized that it was a calling. There absolutely is a place that you can make a difference. So before I begin, I just really want to applaud all of you because you took time today to be here. You listened to Mary Jo, and everyone here is here either one, validating the things that you're doing back in your district, which are impacting kids and staff, but you're also maybe hoping to hear just even one thing that you can take back that will positively influence things that are going on in your building. So again, I applaud you for being here. Just a little bit about me. Been an elementary principal. I can't believe it's been 20 years. I don't know, maybe it's time for me to get out, but it's been incredible. I've been at large, and when I say large, in the state of Florida, schools have a tendency to be a little larger. At the high SES, upper middle class school, and that's where I'm at right now, is Ashton. I'm back there. I was there for 9 years, kind of taken on assignment for 6 years, and that's the piece I'm going to talk a little bit about. That school was 1,350. The assignment that I was given and placed at 6 years ago was Toledo Blade Elementary School. You see it up there on the right, it was 1,650 students when I arrived. It was facing corrective action, a school that was facing corrective action, hadn't made AYP ever. Okay, the employee demographics, I was telling Denny a little earlier, you wonder why we couldn't hold on to any employees there. 75% of my teachers were new. There was one previous leader who opened that school. I applaud his efforts. However, he was revered in that community, and that school had gone nowhere. So when I was placed there, I knew it wasn't going to be a popular assignment. To add to the challenges, 3 weeks into the job, when I started at Toledo Blade, I was there on a Sunday. I guarantee many of you can certainly relate to that. I was working on our school improvement plan. And I got a call from the Northport Police Department that one of the students, that I have a phone number for one of our first grade students. I didn't know the student, I was only there 3 weeks, 1,650 kids. I can tell you right now, they told me that she was missing, called back 10 minutes later, found out that she was abducted and she was murdered. Folks, just all of that, talk about putting in perspective. That community, that school community was reeling. They were hurting. And you know what? I stepped in as the brand new leader. So talk about that sense of urgency. Where do you start with that? And you know what? And listening to you all today, and back then as well, although I thought I was the only one dealing with those kinds of challenges, I quickly realized that, you know what, the challenges I was facing at Toledo Blade weren't very different from the challenges that hundreds and thousands of folks across the nation at various schools were facing. So you know what? The staff at Toledo Blade had a choice. We had a couple of choices. One, we could continue on the same path that we were on. Really, we weren't seeing an upward trend, no positive trend. I could just assimilate in as the new principal. Everybody would have been fine with it, and things would have gone ahead and gone as normal. Two, we could have given up. We had a lot of things against us, as many schools do. We could have just admitted defeat. Or three, we could have believed. We could have believed, and you know what? I got to tell you, just like our counterparts in healthcare, I have to believe that every teacher wants to do a good job. I have to believe they got into the career with that intention, support people as well, that they really want to make a difference. They want to have purpose in their lives. And you know what? When explained to them, I also know that I don't believe there's teachers out there that are afraid of accountability. Sometimes it's just not clear what's being expected of them. So you know what? You know, the teachers, and I applaud them at Toledo Blade because they took a leap of faith. They took a leap of faith to go ahead and refocus, regroup, and commit. And that was 6 years ago. And if you're here because you want to, you know, like whether it was, you know, in any of the presentations you've heard today or from Mary Jo, you want to increase satisfaction amongst parents, amongst staff, morale. Don't know if it's a problem at anybody else's place, but you know, it can be there. Decrease staff turnover, start retaining some folks so you can actually invest in some quality professional development, that therefore you can help your staff, who can ultimately pay dividends for your kids. Or if you want to increase student achievement, or maybe a combination of all of those, you absolutely are in the right place. Janet hasn't told me what I'm supposed to say. I'm just glad to see the slides that I thought were going to be here right here. I just want to tell you, you know what? When I first heard Quint speak, and it was years ago, that was back at Ashton. And I had the opportunity to go ahead and start playing a little bit and tinkering with some of this. It was at Toledo Blade that I dove in. And we didn't have a district initiative. It was a few of us principals. And I just go ahead because it aligns so closely with my beliefs that, you know what, I really believe this is the right thing to do. I wanted a place where I could make a difference, and I believe the people that were going to be on my team who also wanted that. And so you know what, if you're here because you want any of this, I can tell you right now, the tools, the tactics, the principles, and the must-haves absolutely transcend healthcare, and they absolutely perfectly fit in the educational arena. Now, with that being said, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that there has to be a deliberate focus. I'm going to go ahead and spend just a second, and I get to be the voice of the person who gets to relay and celebrate the successes, but it was the hard work of the team back at Toledo Blade. They were a dysfunctional team at the very, very beginning, but over the course of 6 years, and the people that stuck together throughout that 6 years, these are some of the things that we got to see. Huge reduction in our turnover so that we can start investing in our employees. They are a little different. I just want to let you know, we have climate surveys. We have climate surveys from the district that are given out every single year. We give them to our instructional personnel and our support staff. In 1 year, we saw tremendous growth. I'll see if it's in here, if it's in the slides. The other pieces are support staff. You cannot forget the people that work behind the scenes. And I don't care if it's custodial, food service, bus driver, it doesn't make any difference. Every single one of these people make a difference within your organization. We also, I'm just going to click through, if you don't mind, just to see if any of them are here. No, they're not. Okay. Bottom line is, we saw some amazing results. And the results that we saw, first and foremost, we went from a school that hadn't made AYP ever, on the verge of corrective action. Last spring, we were nominated by the state of Florida, 1 out of 1,900 schools, 1 of 6 out of 1,900 schools as a distinguished Title I school for sustained improvement for quality. We made AYP back in 2000, I think it was 6 and 7, made it every year since. We reduced our turnover tremendously, but bottom line is, it's a school where people want to be. And I think Tim hit on it earlier, it starts with one, high, clear expectations, and about the rounding piece and relationships. I heard this when I first started, when Quincy came to our district and talked a little bit about rounding, and I like Mary Jo, a lot of my colleagues, that won't work in education. You know what? Just think about it for a minute. You can adapt these principles to go ahead and fit within your organization. This is just a sample of how we adapted rounding. And I could speak just on rounding all day, but I can tell you right now, the first 30 days, it's a check-in for everybody. We do anonymous surveys, and it's not a student survey, it's my own anonymous survey. We do that after the first 30 days. I just sent it out last week. I have just about probably 90% of the staff that filled it out. I purposely didn't look at the comments prior to coming here. I'm going to wait till I get back. Because, again, I'm at a brand new school. I went back, and although it's only been 6 years since I've been gone, boy, does the culture change quickly. And so I'm anxious, of course, when they saw that anonymous survey coming out. What's this? What's it? Guys, don't forget, I did this just 6 years ago when I was here. I just want to know what's working for you. What do you need help with? What resources? Do you have the tools and equipment? Well, we give out preference cards at the very beginning. In May, before I arrived at the school, I arrived in July. I asked the administrative assistant if she would send out preference cards. Boy, I can tell you right now, I gave them out to our PTO, I gave them out to everybody. That is invaluable information. If you want to develop and nurture relationships, you need those preference cards. I call it 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1. It's very, very simple. I ask on the back of the preference card, tell me 2 things that are going well, 2 things that need attention, and 1 person that needs to be recognized in the organization and why. Tools and equipment, and we set some goals within those first 30 days. 90-day checkup, and again, we're doing things intermittently every single month, but at the 90-day, mid-year reflection. How are we doing on our goals? We're sitting there talking with every single employee about the goals that they've set for themselves, any challenges, needs that they have with regards to the goals they've set. Challenges and needs with regards to tools and equipment are being addressed every other week on our campus through rounding at our team leader meetings, at our grade level meetings. And then it's also another opportunity to go ahead and manage people out. Anytime that you get the opportunity to go ahead and ask who should be recognized and why, we need to go ahead and do it. And at the very, very end, you've heard people talk a little bit about the performance evaluation. If you can tie it to evaluation, that's the way to go. If it's tied now to my evaluation, I built it in. We don't have a systems in Sarasota County, so I built it in myself because this is what I expect of myself. And if I'm going to go ahead and ask that of my staff, and as Mary Jo mentioned, we asked teachers, this is the first year I've asked the teachers at the school that I'm back at now, is to build in the parent component. I want you to ask the parents and the students what suggestions, thoughts, ideas, and feelings they have about the year that they've experienced with you. And then, of course, on their personal preference sheet, and I don't know about anybody else, in Sarasota, Florida, you have to go ahead and ask folks every single year where they would like to teach the next year. Not that you have to grant it, but you have to ask them where they would like to be placed before you can go ahead and make assignments. We use that as an opportunity since it's in writing, it's in the collective bargaining agreement. It's a great another tool to round getting valuable information to go ahead and begin planning for the next year. Reward and recognition, I can't say enough of it. And this is what we should be really, really good at. Unfortunately, we're all busy. We don't do it consistently, and we don't make time for it. So that would be what I would say. These are pretty specific. It needs to be timely. It needs to be ongoing. It should be anyone at any time. And again, that includes your support staff and people. It doesn't even restrict people at the building. There are things that we're writing notes or sending things to the landings, which is the district complex, to board members, to associate superintendent. Nobody is not eligible to go ahead and get some kind of positive feedback for a role they played. Grounds crew coming by, taking good care of our campus. Jot them a quick note, send them an email, let their supervisor know. Anyone at any time. There's just a couple of examples, drops. Talk about the wild cards. It's no different. How full is your bucket? The drops, you drop them. They're all over campus. People are just writing them now, sending them to each other because they're letting people know that they made a difference for them. Letters, sending personalized letters. Don't do it too often because it will lose its touch and lose its meaning. But somebody gets an unexpected letter, or a spouse gets an unexpected letter about something that you value in their partner. Oh my gosh. Just like the kids, it goes right up on the fridge. Positive referrals, we put a little different twist on positive referrals. I ask the teachers not only to fill out the positive referrals, but turn them into me. I make the positive calls. And I can tell you right now, yes, same experience this year, and this is at an upper middle class school. Those parents, who I would think in most cases probably had a pretty good experience at school, still, no, she's not here. May I ask who's calling? Well, this is Mr. Renouf. I'm sorry I missed her. Could you just have her give me a call back because this was a positive call about Aaron? Oh, hang on 1 second. Or I leave the message, sorry I missed you, this was a positive call. Feel free to give me a call back. Within seconds, the phone's ringing out front. My secretary, did you call? Folks, this means so much and it takes so little time, but boy, oh boy, not only do I reiterate it with the child, but that moment, it's building up that positive potential within your clientele. I offer time as a way to go ahead and reward our teachers. We cover classes for them because you know what? There's not enough funding to go around. So we have to be creative and think outside the box of how do you recognize and reward people. Well, I can tell you right now, time goes a long way because it's the #1 thing that we hear from teachers all the time is there's not enough time. So my administrative team, we figure out how we can go ahead, and even if it's 5 minutes or 30 minutes, if we can go ahead and unexpectedly say, you know what, step out. Go ahead, Ms. Anderson. Boys and girls, I'm going to take over the class. I just really want to thank you. We're recognizing things connected to behaviors we want to see more of. I don't have to say a word about it. It's around the building before you know it. And then, of course, anytime it's unexpected, and I don't know about in your buildings, but teachers, in the very beginning, I don't want to be recognized in front of anybody. Don't do that. It's not okay. I don't like it. Folks, we need to take the time to recognize folks that are doing a great job. And so at every staff meeting, every opportunity we get, we go ahead and try to recognize folks that are doing great things. This is probably the ugliest slide you'll ever see. And the only reason I put it up, and it really holds true to one of the previous presentations, is we are under constant scrutiny in education. We know that. But we do a very, very poor job of celebrating and showcasing all the good things that are going on in our schools. And that's from the board level, superintendent, principals, you name it. This is just a couple of examples of different ways you can get positive messages out there about the great things, because you know the negative's going to come. So let's build up that positive capital while we have it. And I mean, you can just see, this is not an exhaustive list. There are many, many ways you can be more creative, but keep that positive message flowing out there about the great things that you're doing in your school. And last but not least, it really only takes one. It takes one person to believe and to begin that transformation. And you know what? When your culture within your building starts to become a meaningful, worthwhile place, that's where people want to work. And I can tell you right now, and the slides aren't in there, and that's okay. One, focus on relationships, clear high expectations, and then celebrate them. If you do those three things, the alignment and monitoring and results will come. I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.